This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
It cracked something wholly open inside of me that I did not even knew existed. It showed me that my intuitive gifts are not only real, but they are sacred, because for a long time, I have doubted that I could be this intuitive. I thought, I'm not special enough to be given this gift. That's for other people. And the medicine showed me they're real. The intuitive gifts are real. You're listening to Make Some Noise Podcast, episode number 683. Welcome to Make Some Noise Podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. If my voice sounds a little weird, it's because I am getting over an ear infection and strep throat, which sucked. That happened to me when I got back from Costa Rica, actually, which I'm going to be talking to you about today, which I've heard isn't that uncommon for people to get sick, not just from the travel, but after doing a spiritual experience like drinking ayahuasca really sort of puts you through the ringer, which I will get into. But at any rate, I got some antibiotics and I'm feeling a lot better, but my tonsil's still swollen, so it's making my voice sound a little bit wonky. Also, if you're looking for private support from me, I have a new one-on-one program called Devotion, and it is a 6-month transformational journey for people who aren't looking for so much as strategy on achieving their life goals. It's more of a spiritual journey, especially if you're experiencing a spiritual transition and want to get really clear on what the emotional, a lot of spiritual and mental, how that all connects for you and how that can serve you to a much greater capacity and much greater good. Head on over to andreaowen.com/you. You can read a little bit more about it, fill out an application. Let's get on the phone and chat for a little bit and see if it's for you. And I would love to even just talk to you about it to see what's next for you. All right, let's get into it. So first things first, I want to talk about what this podcast episode isn't. It's not a play-by-play of each of the 4 ceremonies that I did in Costa Rica with ayahuasca. I will do that on my private podcast series. If you go to andreaowen.com/journey, of course, all these links are in the show notes. I am doing a more of a deep dive into my ketamine therapy as well as this. I haven't recorded those episodes yet with the ayahuasca, but I will get to them, and I'm catching up to on the ketamine episodes. I think it can be helpful for people to hear who are curious, who are a little nervous, and also, what do we get? Like what's on the other side? How is this therapy going to help us? And as someone who's been in therapy on and off, mostly on, since I was 18 years old, done a lot of therapy, and psychedelic therapy is no different. So I'm really going deep in those particular episodes, but not as much here on this podcast. My main podcast is more of an overview. This is for those of you who feel curious and those of you who feel called or unsure what this medicine path even is. Those of you who decide that you want to look more into it, and maybe even come with me. I plan on taking a group there, which I'm super excited about. Or if you plan on, doing it on your own, I think that there's a few select of you listening who might pay a little bit more attention. But I think that this is interesting. Even if I was someone who wasn't interested in doing it for myself, it's a fucking cool as shit experience. So buckle up. I am going to cover what ayahuasca actually is, why people feel drawn to it, how it changes you, how it has the capacity to change you, because every experience is different, and the importance of respecting the cultures that it comes from. So again, if you've ever felt the quiet nudge towards something deeper, something ancient, something wild, something very, very sacred, then this episode is for you. Okay, what is ayahuasca? Ayahuasca is a sacred plant medicine made from a vine, which has a very long name. And I'll put it in the show notes because I want to make sure that it's done correctly and named correctly. It does contain DMT. And from what I understand, how it's been explained to me by Dr. Jeff McNary, who's the resident doctor there at Rythmia, I actually want to have him on my podcast. He might come on the podcast. DMT is released when we are very first born, very, very first born, when we are coming out of the womb, as well as the moments of death. Apparently, those are the only two times that DMT is released in our brains and our bodies. And so this vine contains that. There's other psychedelics that do, but in terms of ayahuasca, yes, DMT is in there. And what's also interesting, because you guys, side note, I geek out on the science of this. There was a lecture during the week I was there at Rythmia given by Dr. Jeff McNary, and he mentioned briefly that the molecule for DMT and the molecule for dopamine, they are strikingly similar. There's only one variation when you're looking at the structural formula of the molecule. And I could be wrong. I just looked at it from across the room, but it's very, very similar to dopamine. Anyway, the ayahuasca, the vine, is brewed as a tea and used ceremonially by indigenous cultures across the Amazon basin. And the experience itself when you drink ayahuasca is physical, it's emotional, it's energetic, and very spiritual. And I want to say this, I'm going to say what it's not. It is not recreational. It is not recreational. Ayahuasca is legal in some spiritual centers like Rythmia in Costa Rica, where I experienced the ceremonies, when it's served in ceremonial context. It is a medicine, not a trip, not a psychedelic trip, not any trip. The lineage matters in reverence, not appropriation. This isn't a wellness trend. And it kind of sucks that on one hand, it sucks that it's becoming that a little bit. Like it's both. It's becoming that a little bit, but I do think that places like Rythmia do a really fantastic job of creating sacred spaces for the medicine to be used. It's indigenous medicine. There are cultures and lineages who have used ayahuasca for generations. I'm going to put some of those in the show notes. One of the facilitators, the shaman that came on our fourth ceremony, our last ceremony, his name is Taita Juanito. He is from Colombia. He's one of the lineages where ayahuasca comes from. Again, those are going to be in the show notes because I want to make sure to pay homage to them. I just want to be crystal clear. This is not something to DIY. Not that I think any of you would do that, but I want to say it. This is not something that you do a Chad from yoga class who ordered the vine off the internet and invites you over. I think the medicine should only be served by people who are either indigenous themselves or have been deeply trained within a lineage and have permission to serve from that lineage. Working with the medicine out of cultural context or for profit without reverence is spiritual bypassing at best and cultural theft, I believe, at worst. And I chose Rythmia specifically because its relationship to indigenous leadership, like Taita Juanito and the Colombian tradition, because to sit with this medicine is an honor. It's an honor, and I have deep respect for the medicine, as well as the people that serve it, as well as the shamans that served it. Just if you do it, please do it with people who carry its wisdom with respect and reverence and the sacredness that it deserves. So I'm going to get into why someone might feel called. I'm going to start by telling you when I felt called to do it. I had heard about it pre-pandemic. And do you guys think like that? Like in terms of like pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, like it's a good kind of marker for me, but it was definitely pre-pandemic. I had heard about it somewhere, I can't remember. And I was interested and curious. And there was something that told me I'm going to end up doing that, but not yet. I need to do some things first. And that was just sort of the thought that I had. And then the pandemic happened in 2020. I, like probably many of you, started falling apart, mentally, emotionally, and physically for me. And I think it was Chelsea Handler was talking about it in a TV interview and had mentioned it. I was like, I want to go do that. I want to have that spiritual experience. I felt called to do it. And my next thought, as someone who's in long-term recovery, for those of you that don't know, I have 13 and a half years now. As of June 2025, I have 13 and a half years of sobriety from alcohol. And so I had to ask myself, do I just want to get high? Is this just a way? Is this just a loophole that I'm trying to use as a way to try to get high? Not knowing then that, like, if you want a loophole to go get high, don't choose ayahuasca. For fuck's sake, go do MDMA in therapy or I'm kidding. Yeah, that's definitely not the way. But I had to ask myself that question. I want to enter the world. It was the same thing when I started ketamine therapy. I really had to be careful about this because people use ketamine recreationally. People use other psychedelic therapies recreationally too. Magic mushroom, psilocybin, MDMA, any of these have been done and will continue to be done recreationally. And so as someone who identifies as an addict, I really had to be careful there and do some self-inquiry and talk to other people in recovery, talk to my therapist. So that was in 2020. What ended up happening serendipitously, and the people who work at Rythmia, and I think anyone who works at a place who facilitates this medicine will tell you that serendipitous things happen once you feel called to drink the medicine. And that's exactly what happened to me. You guys know Shannon Kaiser, right? We love Shannon so much. I'm going to drop a link to maybe a couple of her episodes that she's been on the podcast. I met Shannon in March of 2020, the very first weekend of the pandemic, where we were just buzzing about the pandemic back then. I met her because we share a literary agent, and there was a luncheon that was happening for us in Manhattan. I met her, and Shannon is just like one of those people. Have you ever met someone where you feel such a kindred and special connection to them, and then turns out they are just the person that you need? Like she's so compassionate and loving, and just love and light and compassion just ooze out of this woman's pores. Like, I cannot say enough amazing things about her. I feel like we were best friends in another life somewhere. Our souls have definitely connected before. That's how I feel about her. She was either I was on her show or she was on my show. Doesn't matter. We were on Zoom, and I don't even remember how we got on the topic. I think I was talking to her about ketamine therapy and how much it's helped me and changed my life. And she was talking about her experiences with different psychedelic therapy. And she told me about Rythmia. She said, let me connect you with them. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I had heard that there was a place in Costa Rica. I heard there was a place in Peru. Actually, Dr. Fox, my boyfriend, was thinking about going to a place in Peru over his birthday in January. Never ended up going. So I knew that one was there, but I didn't know the name of this place in Costa Rica. And so Shannon introduced me to them. Before I knew it, I had a week booked there and was booking my flight to go the first week of June. Not everyone wants to do it. And I think that if you don't want to, then absolutely don't do it. If you feel curious about it, follow the curiosity. Don't book a trip. Follow the curiosity and see where it takes you. Not everyone wants to do it, but if you're meant to do it, you'll know. You'll know. So common reasons people feel drawn to ayahuasca. You've hit a wall in therapy or coaching. You feel like it's gotten you a really long way, but to get to the next place that you're going, you're like, I think I need something different. Is it a different therapist or different coach, or is it something else entirely? So if you're there, if you're grieving something you can't name, that was my experience. I felt like there was something happening that I couldn't name. More on that in the private podcast that I mentioned before. You feel spiritually lost or disconnected, or you're in a spiritual transition. You're in that place of like that sort of liminal place where you don't want to go back to the religion or spirituality that you had before. Maybe you didn't have one. It was just sort of whatever you made up, but you don't know what your next place is spiritually with yourself. If you've been carrying patterns, if you've been carrying trauma, and I'm going to say something that might sound weird, but those of you that understand will understand. And I go into this a lot in the other episodes. If you feel like you've been carrying ancestral pain or emotions that feel stuck in your body, then ayahuasca is probably for you. And sometimes you don't even know why. You don't even know why. You don't hit any of those bullet points that I just mentioned. You know, it's just time. It might not make any sense in your head, but it makes sense to your soul. That's why someone might feel called. Okay, we need to take a quick ad break. When we get back, I'm going to talk about what to expect from ayahuasca ceremony. Be right back. If you're a woman over 40 dealing with perimenopause, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. Did you know there are so many perimenopause symptoms? Hot flashes and night sweats, trouble sleeping, painful sex, vaginal dryness, and libido change, weight and body changes, brain fog and memory lapses, moodiness, anxiety and depression, period problems, hair and skin changes, joint pain, bone loss, and fracture risk. The experts at MIDI Health understand what you're experiencing and know how to help. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions. Visits and prescriptions are covered by major insurance providers, no membership fees or hidden costs. If you're uninsured or Medicare is out of network under your plan, they also offer affordable cash payment for services. I know for me, as I'm about to turn 50 in 2025, finding a doctor that specializes in perimenopause and menopause is incredibly important. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
Carla only.
Did you know that when your metabolism is working properly, you feel it in every area of your life? Your energy, your focus, even your sleep? I found a tool that helps me understand what's going on in my body every day, and it's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It measures your metabolism through your breath. Yep, just one breath, and shows you whether you're burning fat or carbs. The app then gives you personalized guidance for nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. You just breathe into it first thing in the morning, and then you've got real-time insight into how your body's doing. You can also use it before and after meals or workouts to stay on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine, and when it's running efficiently, you definitely feel the difference. Lumen even adjusts its recommendations based on your cycle or menopause stage, so your body stays supported through all the shifts. I've started using Lumen in the mornings to see how my sleep affects the way my body functions. On days I sleep well, I can literally see in real time how my body's working more efficiently. It's like a check-in with my body that actually gives me answers. The warmer months are coming. Spring back into your health and fitness. Go to lumen.me/noise to get 10% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/noise for 10% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
All right, we're back. What to expect from ceremony? So I can't tell you how it happens in other places. I know you can also go to the Amazon jungle. My friend Danny Johnson, she's been here on the show too. As I'm recording this, she's in some jungle. I think it's in Peru, where, because like, I'll be honest with you, Rythmia is a resort. It's nice. It's bougie. It's nice. But she's going to some jungle where I think it's like huts or something, or yurts, and lots of bugs. Like, she's out there. So I can only kind of tell you how it works at Rythmia. I do know that, and watching lots of YouTube videos, that when you do this, the way that I mentioned, with an indigenous culture, with an indigenous shaman, you sit in a sacred container led by trained facilitators or shamans. And the shamans have what's called their medicine family. And these are the people that help them. There's prayer. There's intention setting. There's singing by the shaman and the medicine family. There is collective silence. Each shaman does it differently. There was a pattern that I saw with the 4 different shaman that we saw on the 4 different nights that administered. After they administered the first drink, then we were in silence that whole time. No talking. And there's no talking amongst us at all until the very hours and hours and hours pass. You only talk to any of the medicine family that you need help with, if you need help and that type of thing, but no talking to each other. And so it's a drink. Basically, the way that they do it at Rythmia is we line up and again, I'll go into more detail in the other episodes, and they pour you, it's a size of a shot glass, and you drink it in front of them. I always said thank you in Spanish, and then you go back to your place in the ceremony room. There's I think they wait about an hour or an hour and a half, and then anybody who feels called in their heart to go have another drink of the medicine, they can. And then same thing happens. There's about 3 rounds. I only took 3 drinks one of the 4 nights. Then 2 of the nights I took 2 drinks. And then the last night, which was a ride, I only took 1. The medicine works through your body. There is purging. And this is what when you hear about ayahuasca, this is what people love to talk about, is the puking and the shitting. And before I really started to do some research on it, of what I started to ask people who'd specifically been to Rythmia, and I'm like, hey, tell me about the puking and the shitting. Because I thought it was just out of control. And I'm like, who on earth would want to do that? That's terrible. No one. It's not as dramatic as you might think for the vast majority of people. I threw up. I never shit though. However, I was joking with Dr. Fox and I said, this is where my travel constipation has come in handy, because I didn't shit during ceremony, but it's not it's not uncontrollable diarrhea. I think it is for very, very few people. If you have ever had a baby and worried about shitting in the bed, and then you have a baby and you shit in the bed, you realize that, it's not as big of a deal as what people were telling me. So they just clean it up. It's just no big deal. And barely anybody knows. And then even the people that do know, they don't care because everybody's throwing up. And it's just, the first night was jarring. Again, more detail later in the other episodes. But after that, I was like, this is just how it is. And it doesn't, at least in my experience, it did not bother me after that. My own throwing up or other people's throwing up. And also, good news, you don't smell anything. It doesn't smell like regular puke. You know how baby poop, when they're breastfeeding, it doesn't smell? That's how ayahuasca puke is. It doesn't smell. It doesn't smell like regular puke. That's for sure. Because that was the thing I was worried about, was the smell. I'm like, this is going to definitely take away from my spiritual experience. Did not smell one bit of puke the entire time I was there, which felt like a miracle, because I'm with 60 people who, the vast majority of them are puking, and they clean it up. You have buckets. They are so fast. They get that bucket out of there and give you a new clean one before you can even know it. Just, it's amazing. Anyway, the medicine works through your body. You are purging. You are crying. Some people see visions, lots of body movement. Not everyone sees visuals, again, and not everyone pukes. Not everyone pukes. I would rather puke than have a lot of nausea, which is what some people experience. I have a friend who went, and she said the reason she didn't like it and she doesn't want to go back is because she just felt like she had to puke the whole time and never puked. And I'm like, that does sound kind of awful. The thing is, it's not predictable. It gives you what you need, not what you think you came for. It gives you what you need, not what you think you came for. And so here's how it changes people. And this is the part that's going to be sort of hard for me to explain. And of course, like I can only tell you how it changed me. And I've also had many conversations with people who have experienced it, in real time when I was there, and also other people. And it's basically sort of the same thing that I hear. And I'm going to talk about some common outcomes. I will go into more detail in my private podcast into what I saw each ceremony. It was a wild ride. So this is not a magic cure. It's not a magic bullet that's going to cure you of all of your neuroses and make you stop self-sabotaging and people pleasing and doing all these things that we don't want to do anymore. I would call it, you get to talk to your own soul. You get to see your own soul. You get to talk to the medicine. Sometimes the medicine is referred to as the mother or la abuela, which is the grandmother. It's also called la medicina. And I get why now. And some of the common outcomes for people are the feeling of being unburdened from old trauma. Feeling of being unburdened from old trauma. It's not that it changes your memory, makes you forget all about it. It's similar to ketamine therapy in that it doesn't have the emotional impact that it did before. The memories are still there, but it lets go of the emotional turmoil and impact. Common outcome is also connection to your inner voice like never before, the wise woman inside of you. That was a huge one for me. I feel like now I have a direct line, speed dial, whereas before there was noise in the way. Another common outcome is, and this was what I got tenfold, is a release of stored emotion, the release of grief, release of rage, release of joy, release of all of the emotions. And it can feel like a spiritual rebirth or connection to ancestors. This is what I experienced, a connection to nature, a connection to source like never before, something I have never experienced. And then you're done, you get home, and then there's the integration, which happens. This is why it took me a couple of weeks to even record this podcast, because I'm like, I feel like I'm still in it. Not that I feel high or nauseous in any way at all, but it's like the medicine still lives in you. It's a natural plant and you can still feel it. It's very hard to explain because you don't just do ayahuasca, you carry her with you forever. And so I'm going to go through just high level reflection of my experience, the breakdown of each of the 4 ceremonies, because they were all very different and they all sort of built on each other. And the 4th night, you guys, the experience that I had where I felt like I died, there was a moment in time, I'm just going to say this, there was a moment in time where I asked for a paramedic, and that has to do with the medical issue that I do have. That was a very real fear I had with my blood pressure. I thought I needed a medic because I was convinced that I was either going to have a seizure or I was going to die. I was like, those are the only 2 outcomes of what's about to happen. I spiked a fever. I was shaking, my heart rate, I could feel it in my throat. That ceremony, it was the 4th ceremony with Taita, was incredibly light. Like, to say it's life-changing is an understatement, and I don't use that term often. So that'll be in the private series, but here's some big truths that I walked away with. This is, again, high-level reflection, using corporate speak there. Let's see this on the high level. I grieved on behalf of others, which was very unexpected. It cracked something wholly open inside of me that I did not even knew existed. It showed me that my intuitive gifts are not only real, but they are sacred, because for a long time, I have doubted that I could be this intuitive. I thought, I'm not special enough to be given this gift. That's for other people. And the medicine showed me they're real. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're more special or less special than anyone else. None of that matters. That's all ego shit. The intuitive gifts are real and they're sacred. I finally felt what relief feels like in my body, because I realized that when I try to manifest stuff and I think about, I always tell you guys, like, It's not about the goal. It's about the experience you think you're going to get on the other side. For me, the experience I always want is relief. And I felt it in ceremony. I felt what relief feels like. Remember when I said I felt like I was going to either have a seizure or die? That fourth night, I took a picture the next morning when the ceremony was over, because fourth night is an all-nighter that goes by really fast. When I left the Maluka, which is the room where the ceremonies are in, and I'll go into that in more detail too, the energy in there. The next morning when I walked away, I stopped and turned around and looked at the deck, the back deck of where I laid for 3 hours, undulating and doing the sacred. Oh God, my ego died there. It did die. Parts of me broke off and died, and I grieved her and grieved her and grieved her. My old self died, and I snapped a picture of that deck, and then I started crying, and I walked away and I went back to my room and realizing like that was the plan all along. The medicine, it's not that it gave me clarity. I truly feel like it was an initiation. That's what that was. So we're going to take a quick ad break. When we get back, I'm going to give you my final thoughts and an invitation.
This episode is brought to you by Pluto TV. Summer of cinema is here, and Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Beverly Hills Cop, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Good Burger, Stealth, Four Brothers, and Star Trek. Bring the action with you and stream for free on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never. Stream now at Pluto.tv.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. And as your vacation maximizationer, I'm going to make sure you hear the maximum sizzle of Comfort Inn's free hot breakfast. Let's get real close. Maximum apple. Now that's fresh crispimization. Maximum waffle. Hear that crunch. And that's maximum coffee. Oh yeah, that's the pour I'm talking about. Breakfast maximized before hitting the road. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
All right, we're back. So if you feel the pull, my invitation to you is to listen and do your research. That's where I would love for you to start, whether it's with Rythmia, with me and the group that I take probably next year, whether it's somewhere else. Start asking questions, start doing research, start talking to other people who have done it. Please honor the medicine, honor the cultures, find spaces that do the same, and trust your intuition on that as well. Also, for those of you listening who might not be interested, it's not for everyone, and that's okay. You may feel called later in your life, 10, 20, 30 years from now. You may not feel called at all. That is perfectly fine. Please listen to that voice. Please listen to that voice. There are other modalities to get you to where it is that you are wanting to go. My last question for you is just to think about this. What part of you might be ready to return home to itself? What part of you is longing to remember the sound of your own voice, to remember what your soul is actually desiring and looking for? What is it? I know that's super deep, and I know I sound like I'm going to be wearing like a white robe and a headdress or something. I promise you I'm not. I'm still wearing band tees and jeans and rings on every finger. So again, I'll say it one more time. I know I've said it 1,000 times. The play-by-play is in the private podcast. And by play-by-play, I mean ceremony by ceremony. I'm going to go into much more depth about the visions that I saw, the messages that I heard, strange serendipitous things happening. But looking back, it's really not all that serendipitous. So I appreciate your time that you choose to spend it with me on the show. And thank you for seeing me in my own evolution. I'm incredibly grateful for that. And that's not lost on me at all. If you know of someone who might be interested in ayahuasca, who has mentioned it, send them this episode. I would be super grateful for that too. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks again for listening. I would be so incredibly grateful if you haven't done so already, if you could leave a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Super easy if you already listen to your shows over there. But if you don't, or maybe you have the app on your phone, but you listen to this show on a different app, if you could leave a review for this show, it matters so much. I wish I could express how much it matters. I also wish that it didn't matter so much, but alas, it does. So if you haven't already, please go review and rate the show. It would mean so much to me. And thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day.